No, really. You know, that's why they went up.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the hearing to order. It is 7 o'clock. I would like to call the public hearing for IWWA application 2016-6, construction of an addition to Stratford High School with drainage and discharge into the water course. Can you hear me?
No, you can't.
Can't hear me? Okay. I just want to ask initially, is there anybody in the audience here for this particular aspect of the public hearing? If you are, could you raise your hand? The other people are here for the other items on the regular meeting? Yes. Okay. Because the reason I'm asking that to the applicant, to make this more efficient for us, I'm going to ask the commission if they would excuse me, and I'm going to go down there and lay out a map and point to things that are very small that are going to take me 5 minutes to get you onto that map over there, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
I'm trying to make this as simple as possible and as quick as possible. So I think the most efficient way is I'm going to say, what's this? And you're going to tell me what that is.
Okay.
Okay? Rather than sitting here, no, pick your finger up a little over, go to the left of the left.
Okay.
Okay? All right. What I would like to ask the applicant to do is, because there is nobody here from the public, because there is nobody here.
We're not reading.
Gotta get like this.
We're not reading.
Can you hear me now? Sounds like a Verizon ad. I would like to hear from all your expert witnesses. Do you have your soil scientist here?
Not the science.
Mr. Root?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Root?
No.
That's your soil
No.
scientist?
No.
All right. I had a few questions for him. Is somebody able to answer those questions for Mr. Root? Possibly.
Yeah,
All right.
we have our civil engineer for the entire project, represented from Stantec, and so he would be able to answer hopefully all, if most of your questions.
All right. Well, let's see what we got.
Okay.
All right. Why don't you do an overview for the commissioners? They have all had an opportunity to look at your application, look at your plans. I have also, and I literally and figuratively dissected all your plans.
Okay.
And at that point in time, after you make your presentation, I'm going to have a few questions for you.
Okay.
All right?
It's very fair.
Go for it.
Okay. First of all, my name is George Perham, and I'm a principal at Antonazzi Associates. We're architects in Bridgeport, Connecticut at 271 Fairfield Avenue. We're here tonight, of course, as you mentioned, to discuss the additions and alterations to Stratford High School, specifically as it relates to inland wetlands. What I just wanted to do is take a few minutes to give an overview of the project and then have our experts from Stantec come up and present the rest of the project as it relates to the inland wetlands. So very quickly, hopefully you're going to be okay. So what we did is we have a compilation plan, and this dotted line that you see going here is the existing Stratford High School. It happens to include this gold shaded area. So that's the existing school as it resides today. Out in front here is North Parade Street. Back here is King Street. And over here is California Street. So as you can see, we are going to be basically consuming both sides of the street. The first phase, if you will, would be an academic and administration building on the west side of King Street. Along with that administration academic building will be a couple of parking lots to support that building for both the staff as well as visitors. This right here being the main entrance into that academic building. The second phase consists of demolishing this portion of the high school and putting about a 56,000 square foot addition, which is presented here in blue, which we're calling the civic side of the building, if you will. So this main entrance at this point and over here comes into a large lobby. Auditorium is in this location. Behind and around the auditorium are the arts, culinary, and music. To the left of the auditorium is the new gymnasium. Excuse me. And towards the back of the building here, we have a child care, daycare. The last part of the project would be what we're calling Phase 3, which is a renovation of what's to remain of the building, which is where the media center and the rest of the arts would be, along with an auxiliary gym and a fitness center. These buildings will be connected via a bridge that'll go over the top of King Street, and it'll be at the second floor, which is the first floor of the academic building. So all in all, as I mentioned, the entire site, both sites will encompass Stratford High School. Once again, we have another parking lot down here that is accessible off of North Parade. You can come through the property to exit out onto King Street. And then we have parking back in this northern part of the property for people coming towards the daycare. And then also the Alpha program that is presently down in Birdseye School is going to be in the back portion of the school. And lastly, we have a small athletic field here, which will be for gymnastics, pretty much only gymnastics. All of the games for football, baseball, and so on and so forth will remain up in Pender's Field. That's the overall gist of the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
That's good. Thank you very much. I think our main focus, though, is going to be on the water course,
That's correct.
and that's where our jurisdiction falls.
Correct.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions from up here.
Okay.
On your soil report, again, you'd have nobody really to answer. Maybe you can. Mr. Root suggested that he did the soil survey with a spade and an auger to find out what the soil types were. He also went to the NRCS, the National Information Database, to find out how they categorize the soils in that area. Did anybody have an opportunity to look at any historic information on that site? The reason I ask this is because, unfortunately for you, I was on that property over 60 years ago, and it was a wetland.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, as a small child, not knowing the problems with carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide gas, we used to go up the 48-inch pipe. So my concern is, although he has qualified it as Udorthan soils, they can be wetland soils at times, and they can be very shallow over old wetland soils. And in my opinion, that's the most likely scenario, that these are shallow fills over old wetland, poorly drained soils that appeared to have a very high water table. The reason I ask this is that you're asking to put in galleys and for water exfiltration. Have you done any deep test holes in the area where those are going to be put in?
Yep. I'd like to ask Antonio, our engineer, to respond to you.
Hello, Antonio DiCamillo from Stantec. I'm the civil engineer for the project. Do you want me to go through everything and then I can answer it, or do you want me to touch?
No, let's go through.
Okay.
If you don't mind, we're just going to go. I want to go through the soil report first.
Sure.
Because I'm concerned. Again, we deal with wetland soils. That's our job.
We have a pretty extensive boring program that we did throughout the site, which gave us locations of water table. And we cited all the underground retention systems to be at least 18 inches above the water table that we saw from all the borings.
Bottom of your prepared area.
Bottom of the stone is 18 inches above the water table, based on all the borings that were done through the site. And that is a typical thing that we do. So.
That, I didn't see that information.
I didn't submit that. That's usually in a geotech report, and we typically don't submit that, but I have a copy of it.
I'll take your word for it.
But yes, no,
But
we
I-
usually look.
The reason I'm asking is because it was not submitted in your report to us.
Correct.
And you say on a couple of these systems that it's going to be completely exfiltration. That's the way it's dewatering. Is that correct?
That is, well, there is a weir elevation, so the water is retained to a certain level within the system, and then, you know, it overtops the weir. So a certain amount of water, yes, is below the weir elevation and remains to be exfiltrated. Based on the borings that we saw out there, mostly sandy soils, we used infiltration rate of 0.75 inches per hour, which is kind of a typical for sandy soils. So it's kind of a standard, standard thing that we do. So.
All right. What I'd like to do at this time, if you don't mind me jumping around a little bit.
Sure.
Let's go. Can we go over to where the head wall work is going to be done, and work our way back into the site from the head wall? First, can I ask you an initial question? This head wall is just the 60-inch. Is in lieu of a future 60-inch pipe, right?
That is correct. It's a future improvement. That's not really.
So we're putting this in, connecting to a 48.
No, we're not connecting the 48. It is a brand new 60-inch pipe that's coming out. So we're removing the 48 entirely.
There's a 60-inch going up to King Street?
No. There is a. Here, let me just.
All right, because I was confused.
No, what's happening right now is there is a 48-inch pipe that runs
Under the building now, yes.
like this, right? It comes out of here. It combines with another.
24.
Yeah, with the 24 here, and it comes out of the head wall as a 48. It's a 48 coming out. The
But
new pipe that we're installing is going to be a 60-inch. The existing piping here is all going to be removed.
What's taking the water that's currently in the 48? Where is the water that comes over the property line in the 48 now, today? Where is that going to go after?
The same exact location. We're building a head wall literally 10 feet behind it, and we're sending the same exact amount of water that's going there now is going to be going there.
In what conduit? In what pipe?
In a new 60-inch pipe that we're putting in right here. This is our new one right here.
All right.
It's going to go around the building, and it's going to come down this way. So we're basically, this one that traverses this way is going to be replaced by this one here, and it's going to be picking up off-site flows that the existing one is picking up.
And that's coming in as part of the project before the foundations go in?
Correct, yes. This will be done in the first phase.
Okay. In your report, you talk about it meeting in your drainage study report in section 2. I don't know if you want to refer to it. You say that a 24 and 36-inch pipe connect to the 48 currently. On your drawings, and I don't mean to be technical, I could not find a 36-inch pipe.
Okay. These are the two pipes that we're picking. Those are the two existing pipes that come from off-site, which come from here, up in the north. They're not part of our site, but they contribute to the 48 currently. This one here, I believe, this one over here, I believe, is the 36, and this one is the 24 coming down this way. These currently connect to the 48, but what we're doing is we're intercepting it and rerouting it around the building with a new 60-inch pipe.
Now, there's another 24 with a head wall.
This over here?
Yeah.
That's basically getting removed.
What is that currently receiving?
That's receiving flows from the site, from this side of the site right here.
It's not receiving any water course, intermittent or otherwise. It's just,
It might get some flows from outside over here, but we have a catch basin that's going to pick that up and convey it.
that will still exist, but not as a head wall.
No, that will be removed. We're going to put a new pipe. All drainage from the site is going to be removed, except for the drainage that comes from off-site into here.
Okay,
Because those are just not, that's not our system up there, so
okay.
hopefully that clears.
You answered my question.
You are here for this, okay? Can I ask a question? Because we have drainage that's on our property that empties into that 48 pipe.
The way we work this, we make the presentation. And after their presentation is completed, you'll have an opportunity to come up and ask them any questions you like. Okay? You're just going to have to hang on. Hopefully they'll answer it before you get to that point. I hope. Next question.
Sure.
With the head wall.
Yes.
Your temporary diversion pipe. You never showed a detail.
This was going to be part of what I was going to say, but I'll go over it right now so you can clear things up a little bit. So the way that this here is going to be constructed is, right now, here's the existing head wall in gray, right? The existing pipe comes out of the head wall here. So what's going to happen is we're going to intercept the 48 with a temporary pipe and bypass the area. That's the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to install some sandbags in this area to protect the area from sediment from getting into the water course. The third thing that happens, now that's stabilized, is the removal of the existing head wall. After that, we construct the proposed head wall, and then after that is constructed, we remove the diversion and let the water come back onto the water course.
Where the 24 and the 48 meet, just above the existing head wall, in your
Right here.
right, on your plan it showed a very small rectangle. Is that a catch basin?
Yes, it is a catch basin.
Okay.
It is raised above, it's really not picking anything.
Is that where you're going to pick up the water for the
Correct.
dewater?
It's in that area, correct, yes.
Okay, so you allow. What is the low flow on Tanner's Brook right now? The non-storm event flow.
I do not know what the low flow is, but this will give you an indication right here. This photo right here gives you an indication of what your average flow is going to be.
So you're telling me that much?
It's not a lot. I mean, the bottom line is that this portion of the construction is probably going to take about 2 weeks.
Okay,
So we're going to schedule it so it's during low flow, obviously, and in and out as soon as we can.
that water will continue downstream at all times?
Correct.
Okay, because that's another concern, is not only too much water, too little water. Okay, good. Going back up the system, all water from the east side development is going to come west? Okay,
That is what it's doing right now.
okay. On your plan, you say phase 1 is going to be only west of King Street?
Correct.
All right, so while you're building west of King Street, what's happening to the water east of King Street?
Well, right now what we're doing is our main 60-inch pipe on this area here, this is going to be built first, like I said, right? We are going to be intercepting right here, which is basically all the drainage from this side comes into this manhole here under existing conditions, and it comes across to a structure. What we're going to do is we're going to connect into this structure and convey the water out to here. So basically, we are going to account for all of this in the new pipe that's going to go in here and it's going to be built first. So first we built this, right? And then at that point, you're conveying the west parcel and also the existing east parcel. So then at that point, you have it configured to the point where you can really pretty much do anything over here and rebuild everything because you're already accounting for that. It's coming across. So that's basically how we're working it. But it's a valid point because it needs to be coordinated, you know, when is that manhole going in? So, yeah,
Okay.
that's the plan for that.
Are you going to make a presentation
Yeah,
about
I can do
erosion controls?
Yeah, I mean,
Or do you just want me to ask you questions?
you can just ask the questions, that's fine.
I think that might be more efficient.
I'll give you the quick 5-minute rundown at the end for everyone else to hear. So.
Okay. C300 is your erosion control notes and details.
Yes.
You explained that there's going to be swales and diversion dikes. And it appears you're saying as needed. Do you have an idea? I did not see those in the detail.
We typically don't show those at this stage because, well, the first reason is that contractor, it is really ultimately up to the contractor how to build the parcel. Like what he may want to lay down, you know, items in a different area than we propose. So he's going to have to, you know, so that's why we typically don't detail all that stuff because it really does vary depending on what he wants to do. I mean, we are envisioning this area here, this existing swale in this area here, will pretty much have to be built initially because that is basically at the downstream side of things, so it will catch, you know, it'll catch a lot of the flow from this area here. But like I said, you know, we typically don't detail the location of the swales. What happens is the construction manager, who's out there every day, along with the sediment erosion control inspector, that generally, usually for these projects, comes once a week and inspect the project for sediment erosion controls. Those are the people that really kind of manage the day-to-day activities of the site.
Your plan said he's going to be there daily.
What's that?
You just said he'll be there week to week?
I don't know how it's going to be scheduled. He's going to be there often.
Okay. On your description on here, daily inspections.
No, daily inspections, yes, the sediment erosion control inspections, which are more upper end.
All right. Now, in terms of, it's always been a problem with us, who's in charge? You have an inspector for erosion control?
We don't have one right now. Typically, the CM or someone from the construction manager is assigned that duty. What happens is for a project like this, we're going to be submitting a general stormwater permit, deep, which outlines all the controls that need to go in place. They have weekly inspections in there that are required, and it depends on who is going to be that person. That gets assigned later on. It could be someone from the construction management team, or it could be a separate entity that needs to be hired to do that work. There needs to be turbidity testing for the outfalls. All that kind of stuff is going to be part of a permit that's going to go to deep. So it's pretty rigorous what they have to go through in order to make sure that the sediment erosion controls are followed. And in that permit that's going to go in, we haven't put that together yet because we're not there yet. But there are sections in there that speak to me going out there and inspecting. As soon as the initial sediment erosion controls are in, I have to go out there and sign off on them. So again, there's a series of steps that, you know, take place so that the guy just doesn't go out there.
Who's top dog? Who gets the final report and makes the final say? For example, you're on one of your, I don't know if it's on this one, but you made one provision for a stop work.
For what?
A stop work order.
Okay.
Who makes that decision?
I mean, ultimately, it could be the owner, it could be the engineer, it really could be, I mean, it could be anyone out there, depending on what we see. It could be the town, you know, specifically. If they come out and inspect,
I have no problem going out. I think it would be wise.
In past projects, we've had those kind of reports and those kind of things come to the conservation administrator.
Okay.
And at least, maybe not solely, but with discussion with whoever you have as your field manager, she should be part of that decision. And I think we're going to have to make that in a permit form. That reports not only come to your group or to the contractor, but simultaneously come to the town of Stratford, and not necessarily the town engineer, but at least in terms of the inland wetlands permit, to the conservation administrator and wetlands agent.
Absolutely, yeah, that's perfectly
Okay.
fine. I think that's a great idea.
Just so you understand, we're probably going to make that a stipulation.
That's a great idea. I have no problem with that at all.
You're going to have to excuse me, I'm going through all these plans.
Go for it, go
All right.
for it. That's what I'm here for.
I have them all highlighted. And
You did a pretty thorough job, that's good.
when you pull apart the existing storm drain system,
Yes,
I assume you do it from top to bottom.
correct,
Okay.
yes.
Just it just seems logical, and I was hoping that we were both on the same page with that. All right, I have, the next one is C301, which is your retention system.
Yep.
It appears that it's going to be about 6 feet deep below the surface
Correct.
and on a rock base. And you say that the water table, you've answered a question here, the water table is at least 18 inches below that.
Correct.
Are there any provisions for oil spills, gasoline spills into these systems?
Typically, that is handled by other aspects of the contract that's put together. I believe they have to have spill kits and stuff like that on there, but again, that's not my area of expertise. But yes, I mean, I would imagine that, a large project like this, there are requirements that need to be in place for, ensuring that any spills or anything like that are handled properly. You're talking about during construction, if something goes into the system?
Well, I'm talking about even during construction and or after construction, after the key's been handed over. Have you made any recommendations, or has the manufacturer made any recommendations on how to handle that? And do you foresee that being the responsibility of the owner, the town of Stratford?
Yeah, that is typically not something that we get involved with. That is typically the building management and folks and other folks in the town, I believe, would probably be more responsible for that aspect of it. During construction, it would be the construction manager that would be responsible for, overseeing all that work. So,
Are there, just an offshoot from that, fuel storage for any of the equipment on site, like refueling stations?
those are typically going to be assigned later on. We haven't really assigned those, but I think the bottom line is they're going to be a minimum 100 feet away from the wetlands typically,
Would
or
be
water courses is typically what we like to see.
As far away as possible?
As far away as possible is correct, yeah.
C303,
What's the title of that one?
the bioretention.
Got it. Oh, it's the bioretention detail. Okay, yeah.
Could you just go over that one for us?
The bioretention?
Yes.
Sure. I think I actually have that.
C303.
So essentially, this is a detail of the bioretention area. Essentially what it is it is like a 1 to 2 foot depression in the soil, and what happens is typically planted. We have like 2 feet of planting soil, which is mostly going to be sandy so that it can infiltrate. And runoff from the parking areas here are going to directly go in there and infiltrate into the soil. And what we have is we have a high overflow too above grade, when the basin fills up too much and it gets to that level, water just it goes into the catch basin. So the whole point is that any floatables, any sediment, anything like that remains and settles down to the bottom. But at the same time, if you get a big storm and the soils, need to be cleaned or whatever, it just goes right over into the system. So that's how that's designed.
You've answered another question. I didn't see any catch basin in that detail, so.
Not in detail, it's shown on the plans, but it's not in the detail.
Okay.
If you look at we're showing contours that are 2 feet lower than the top of frame, but it's not shown in the detail.
There's just, could you go back to your main plan? Where is that exactly located?
Yeah, I'll show you the green right here. So essentially, these two here are going to take pretty much all of this parking lot. Is going to flow directly into the bioretention areas in here. And that's a great way to filter the water, and that's pretty much where they're located. So.
One last question from me anyway.
Sure.
What is this?
Oh, yeah, that's the network, the model that we put together to model all the storm pipes and to size them. That is the schematic that shows you all the pipes.
All right. It's not labeled, and I had a time trying to figure out exactly what it was. It's just a schematic of the flow chart.
Of the network, of the drainage network, of all the proposed pipes on the site.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
It's not labeled? That's odd.
No.
Okay.
Do any other people from the commission have questions? Questions?
Yeah, I just have a question regarding the storage galleries themselves. Is there any plan for maintenance of them? So when they start filling with sediments, I didn't read that section of the...
Okay, usually what we do with those is we have inspection ports that are located at all entrances where the pipes come in. And that way what they can do is they can pull them up. It's basically like a PVC pipe that comes all the way to the surface. They could put in, sometimes they can put in like TVing devices to see, and they could also put a vacuum. They can just put a vacuum suction device in there and vac it out. The way we design these systems though, all sediment-laden water has to go through a hydrodynamic separator before it even goes in there. So those are the ones that you really need to maintain. Theoretically, if those are maintained as they're spec'd, every 6 months, vac out, you will never have that issue with the underground retention system. But if something does happen, again, you have the inspection ports which are located only at the entrances. So.
Another question, where do you think, once the entire project is completed, snow will be piled during storm events?
It's a tight site, as you can see here, and I think any areas that we have that are adjacent to roadways are going to be the areas that they're going to use. I don't necessarily have a plan, per se, but, anything over here, any area here, one of the aspects, we had a retaining wall over here, we actually put some thought into that part of it, where we were extending the retaining wall as far that way as possible to create a little bit of snow storage area over here. But again, any lawn areas that are adjacent to the parking areas are usually going to be used. Another thing that we've seen done in other schools is that they'll selectively pick 6 or 7 parking spots in the corner. I know parking is at a premium here, but the maintenance folks will know that is a snow storage area, and they will dedicate those for that purpose and put the snow in that area. So.
Yeah, because obviously we just want to ensure that as much snow melt as possible is kept away from any of the catch basins that are going to enter directly into the water course, or as far away as possible from that upland review area.
Correct.
So.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind. We'll see if we can, we'll look into that and see if we can assign some other areas or, no, we definitely don't want, things in here. The thing to keep in mind again is that pretty much anything that enters a catch basin is going to go to a hydrodynamic separator.
system. Mhm.
So, there's some treatment there if that does, happen. So.
And I also had a question on the head wall. After or during reconstruction of the head wall, you're going to have like a riprap pad, correct?
That is the final condition. So this here is basically what we call a pre-form scaffold, which is
Yep.
just a riprap pad. Basically.
Okay.
And that is for erosion purposes in this area here, because the water's going to come out here. It's a pretty big pipe, so this is basically designed to prevent erosion at the outfall. The good thing is that the channel here, is concrete basically, so it's not erodible material. So once it goes beyond this, there's not a lot of potential for erosion in the channels.
Okay. I think those were all my major concerns. I think I'm good.
Just to follow up on one point that Christina made, are you going to give the town a how-to manual on how to take care of some of this stuff?
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. We have a section in our drainage report that speaks to how often they need to be reviewed and looked at and stuff like that. What we've done in the past for other towns is we've submitted basically that, except more of a maintenance memo kind of thing. So we'd be glad to do that. Just give you 1 or 2 pages on what it is that we're proposing, how often you need to clean it, what you have to do. We'd be happy to do that for you. I've done it in the past, so.
Do we have to put that in a permit, or can you write that down just to include it?
I'll include it for you.
Perfect.
I'll write it down.
All right, if we have no more questions from the panel, it appears we have some people from the audience who have some questions for the applicant. If you could step forward and give us your name and address and ask your questions. If you come up to the podium and use the microphone, please.
Good evening. My name is John DiCaro. I'm at 1305 Barnum Avenue, One Stop Plumbing Supply. Now, we have area drains that tie into the 48-inch line that you were talking about. Now, is that going to affect our drainage? Because on a heavy rain, we need canoes now to get through our parking lots. Especially in Firestone. Firestone floods out every time we have a heavy rain. There are times that when a heavy rain, the water will come up to our front door. We have to put sandbags in front of the front door to keep the water out.
Does the applicant have an answer for that?
Where is your property? 13, we're on Barnum Avenue.
So essentially what's going to happen is we're not touching any of the pipes or drainage systems that are off of our property, but what we are doing is we're intercepting all the pipes that come in here, and we're conveying them down to the outfall. So there will be no adverse impacts to your properties due to the construction. So we're going to be conveying all water down here.
Everything that's on our property stays.
Correct. As it crosses onto the school parcel, we're picking it up with new pipes, with better pipes, and we'll be conveying it onto the outfall.
Could you use, excuse me, use the microphone. We have to keep this on record. I'm sorry.
If you go further down, most of the Barnum Avenue, lower half of Barnum Avenue, drains into that field. Now, are there catch basins in the field? What's in the field to allow that water to pass through? Because if that water can't pass through, our drains are worthless.
We're intercepting anything that's coming off-site from your area on our property, and we're installing the new 60-inch pipe that we talked about there. Right now, that's a 48-inch pipe. Right. So you may see improvement, you may not, but you're certainly not going to see anything worse in your area, because we're literally picking everything up with a new drainage system. So,
Thank you, Chairman.
Anybody else? Any comments? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn the public hearing? Close the public hearing? Mr. Fay?
I'll second the motion.
Second to adjourn the meeting. The hearing is closed. We are now going to open up the regular meeting, gentlemen, if you want to hang around. We are going to vote on your application tonight. With that, at 7:40, I am going to call the regular meeting of the Stratford Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission to order. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes?
I wasn't here, so I can't vote.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to deal with it, but we'll just let it slide.
I'll have to make the amendment.
You think we do? Okay. That's after a second, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? A second? Second. Wait. Did you get the second? For Mr. Blake? No, I didn't. Discussion. One discussion, we're going to have to make an amendment for members present at the May 18th meeting. Mr. Hoydick was not present at that meeting, and that will be changed. That being made, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Nobody? Unanimous, thank you. Old business. I would like to take off the table IW application 2016-6, construction of an addition to Stratford High School with drainage and discharge into a watercourse. Do I hear a motion to do that? To take it off the table?
I'll take it off the table. It's not on the table, it's new business, but I'll make a motion anyway. It's okay.
Well, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
That was my fault, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. No, we can't.
That not being said,
Yeah.
do I hear a motion to take it off the table?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Do I hear a motion to approve the application with the conditions that have been stipulated in the public hearing?
Do you want to make the motion?
Don't all jump up at once.
We are making a motion to approve.
Application 2016-6?
No, it's 2016-6. It was incorrect in the minutes.
I don't know if I have the wrong agenda. Are we talking about the?
We're talking about the one we just heard at the
Violation
public
now?
hearing.
Is that what we're talking about, the violation, or are we talking about the
No,
This
we're
is
still on
this is
Stratford.
Stratford High School.
Stratford High School? Okay. Yeah, I'll make it a motion to approve the application, application 2016-6, to include all the the input from the public hearing, our standard conditions, and whatever the recommendation are from our conservation officer. That's it.
Second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None? Carried. You're on your way.
Well, we have to ask if the violator, oh, thank you. We have to ask if the violator's in attendance, and then they have to come up and show their restoration plan. That's the way it works. And if she's not here, it's automatic legal action.
All right. Like a motion to take off the table IWWA violation 2016-7A.
It should be V. And that A should be V, standing for violation. It should be 2016-7V.
V.
That was my fault.
I'll make a motion to take it off the table. It looks like a V. Right, it's an inverted V.
Second. Is Shayna Wolf present? Shayna Wolf?
Guess that's a no. In the terms of the certified letter that was sent to her by the acting conservation enforcement officer, at the time when I was on maternity leave, she was supposed to have a restoration plan submitted here tonight, and she was supposed to present said restoration plan for the commissioners to view and either approve or modify in any way necessary. But obviously, since she has not shown up tonight, she's in breach of that certified letter that went to her, and now legal action will have to be taken because she failed to show up, and B, we have nothing submitted whatsoever as far as a restoration plan for the property. Would it be permissible for any of them to speak to how it affected their property, how the violation has affected their? They did? Okay, it was all in the. Is there anything new to add?
Is there anything, I assume you are the affected parties, right? Do you have anything to add to this? Your name and address, please.
Yes, hi, I'm Ed Schofield, 140 Butternut Lane. With me is my wife, Judy. Also with me is Merritt Zahner from 110 Butternut Lane. Present in the building from 160 Butternut Lane is Paula Malika, but she's downstairs at the Booth Memorial Park meeting. I spoke last time. I won't take much time. Thank you very much to the chair and to the commission, and of course to Tina and John, who had been handling it in her absence. We're very concerned. This is an egregious violation in our view. I think that view is shared. I know it was shared by John when he was out there with us looking at it. I think that the contempt that this new resident of Stratford has shown for not only the land and the habitat of the animals who live there and the 50 to 80-year-old trees that were cut down is, as a lifelong Stratford resident, I find to be extremely offensive. The fact that the landowner is now showing contempt to the process of this commission and this town speaks, I think, ill of their plan, any plan they might submit, and I'd be very skeptical of any plan they might submit to restore this property. Obviously, it's impossible to restore the loss of 60 to 70 foot trees that have been growing there for many years. I would hope that if this does go further and they do come before the commission with a plan for restoration, that the commission, I think all the neighbors would hope, and not just us, but many other neighbors who've spoken and would, at the appropriate time, ask for a public hearing on this, that they be held to the absolute letters of Title 22A and that this restoration be as complete and appropriate as possible. So those are our thoughts, but thank you very much.
Has anything changed?
No, the only change we observed, Mr. Chairman, was that Immediately after Mr. Wysotsky sent out the initial cease and desist, they put a silt fence in, kind of, closing the barn door after the horse is already down the road. But other than that, we haven't observed any other activity on the site. Thank you. If I may, just for the record, Mr. Malika from 160 did join us here. He's seated in the audience as well, one of my other neighbors.
I think the next step in this process then is I'm going to have to follow up with the applicant, send another certified letter, and I'm going to have to notify, obviously, the town attorneys and see the next step in the legal action that we can take. I know in our regulations it cites a certain fine that we can impose for however many days the project went on, and you can impose a set monetary amount per day that they were out there. So like you said, I believe this would be a situation where you hold them to the fullest extent of legal action. So the best we can do at this time is, again, to try and reach out to the violator and work with the town attorney from there to reach some type of resolution. And like you said, we'll never be able to restore it to what it formerly was. And it's an utter shame, to be honest. And we can only move forward from here and try and get it back to a decent condition. So I will keep you all apprised of the process.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Moving on, administrative report.
Nothing new at this time to report.
Super.
Oh, I am sorry. I am looking into the badges for all of you for site visits, some kind of identification. So I'll be working actually with the fire department. They do all town badges, so we may be able to go that route.
Cool. On the administrative report, do we have any pictures of the new baby to show the
Oh,
commissioners?
you bet I got pictures of the new baby.
All right, as soon as we adjourn, all the commissioners are going to be able to come up and see the pictures of the baby. Commissioners Forum. Mr. Fay.
So, we cited this lady for clear cutting, and now we're going to take legal action. So let's take legal action against the UI for clear cut. See what we can do to stop it. It looks awful. Huntington Road looks like Grant's March to the Sea or something. It's just horrible. And I know that they don't have carte blanche to cut down whatever they want.
Oh, there's no question about it. They don't have carte blanche.
Let's do whatever we got to do.
Well, I'm not too sure where our authority lies in that, but I think if the commission wants to make a motion as a commission to send a letter to the town administration.
I'll be happy to make that motion, whatever we have to do,
I will second that motion.
Okay?
because
Sure.
they don't want a tree near an electric wire. That's their objective.
Of course.
So, and if you I'll tell you what, in the town of Greenwich, they don't just go in there and start cutting down trees. And the people in Greenwich say, well, we'll take the power outages because we don't want the trees cut down. That's a decision they made.
All right. There is a motion on the floor. There is a second that the commission as a group send a letter of opinion to the town administration suggesting that the work being done by the UI contractor for tree trimming line clearance is unacceptable.
Stratford and Greenwich are two different countries. Believe me, I worked up there a lot. Yeah, but I don't see nothing wrong with sending them.
All right. Bring it to a vote.
I-
All in favor of sending this letter?
Yeah? Aye.
Unanimous. I'm going to direct you to prepare a letter.
Will do.
Thank you. All right. Any other commissioners forum? Hearing none? Motion to adjourn by Mr. Fay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoydick. All in favor? Aye.
7:54. Boom, boom. Go home, watch that.